Good morning.
Okay. How are you?
Excellent. Excellent. I
Okay.
love that background. For those
Oh,
who might
yeah.
see us on YouTube here,
Oh,
you
hold on
got
a
some
second.
serious stuff here. That looks massively nice. Yeah, I love that. If for those who are listening, there are a whole bunch of instruments hanging up in the background there.
Now
Probably
the
got,
lights are on.
probably got a story for every single instrument back there.
I do. So I have to tell you one little story about that banjo back there.
Yeah, yeah, the banjo. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The banjo, my husband George saved him from a church rummage sale. And when we opened the case, it was kind of musty. And so we found out he was born in 1932. So we call him Old Stinky.
It goes back to
Come
1930.
get Old Stinky.
So what did it take to get this banjo that's up on your right shoulder to get that banjo to be refurbished? What did that take? Did he do it himself or you had an
Yeah,
expert?
my husband George is amazing. Okay, so
Yeah.
see that guitar right there? That is
Yeah.
a guild
Those are awesome.
jazz guitar, best action on the face of the planet on the fretboard. And he saved that one from a church rummage sale, and he bought it for $5 and then completely restored it. And it is
Wow.
like one of the most amazing lead guitars to play ever. It's really great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then that mandolin is mine. And I played it for 10 years in various bands. And it's a Gibson, and it was a gift to me. And this one over here, this Crown Classical, was also a gift to me. Like every guitar almost I've ever had to get me started was a gift to me from someone. And I wanted it so bad, and I was so poor. you
You're the
know.
starving artist, yeah.
So I was single mom, and so I would just say, and then over here we have George's a couple of basses, and George's plays in a band right now, and I just play writers' nights. That's what I do.
So
I
you have
play
a
the song.
total musical household. That's
Oh, we do.
yeah, it's probably like never ending. Probably everything that you do is just like totally with music and all these different genres, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, we've both done our time in classic rock bands, and that's a great education
Oh,
on.
sure. Yeah, the real world experience, I'm sure.
Right. I mean, it's an education about, why do people like, Bonnie Raitt's, uh, you know, you know, it's something to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, why do they like that song so much? Why do they like Amy Winehouse? Meet you downstairs in the bar and her, why do they like it? And if you sing those songs a lot, you find the melodies are amazing, the words fit
Sure.
together, and son of a preacher man, it is so good. Everything about the way the song comes together gels in just the right way. So you spend any time doing covers, you learn a lot about what great songwriting is, and then you listen to your own when you start and go, so well, it doesn't quite have the same cachet, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's so hard with newer artists. And this is the kind of the business you'll be talking about here that you're doing.
Mhm.
It's so hard to set yourself apart and to sound original and to write something really catchy. And it's so much harder these days, it seems like, than, it's probably easier to just simply be in a cover band because people want to hear the hits. And then you bring up your own original material. Like, oh, I think I'm going to go off now to the restroom. It's like, that's got to be really tough to deal with.
Well, I would say that anyone who is in, okay, we can talk about this. We could talk about this later, but whether you have just a guitar or whether you have a 5-piece band behind you that makes you feel like a rock star, our job is really to connect with people from that stage. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what the song is. It matters who you are and how you sing it to them and what you say in between those songs that engages people. And, if you're not all that great, as a singer, like there's plenty of songwriters in this town who are not good singers,
Sure.
but we love listening to them because of who they are and the way they present themselves on stage. And I think that's the greatest skill that some people are born like that, and the rest of us have to work on it. And you have to be comfortable enough in your own skin to really look at people and not be like, at first I want to run away and face the wall. I mean, it might be funny just to watch me play kind of facing the wall. And there's been lots of people who've done that. But I think it's about learning that, there's this, if you can let all your fear and stuff go, this is what I learned, and be in the moment with the song.
So true.
Everything happens. Amazing things happen.
Yeah. So for those just joining and all that, you name your business is Discover Sooner. Obviously,
yes.
About getting people started and getting them into it way sooner. Because you estimate it's usually 5-10 years before, like, a lot of these people it took to ramp up and get their publishing deal. So you kind of aid in that process. Somebody comes to you, and how do you work it out when a singer-songwriter comes to you?
Right. Okay. So did we start already? Are we rolling?
Yeah. It's fine. We're free form. This is
We're free forming this morning. Okay. I'm Nancy Deckant. I know, just a little update. I was an SAI coordinator in the Pittsburgh group long time ago in the early 2000s. And I moved to Nashville in 2013 because I knew, and I'd been in bands there, and I wanted to be at the creation point. I wanted to write songs. I knew this was what I had to do. I was like possessed. I had to do it. And so, like all of us, we kind of go back and forth. I mean, you're only upsetting your whole entire family. My husband, George, like, come on, honey, let's go to Nashville. You could be in a band down there. It was like, not quite.
Is Nashville, though, a little bit more realistic than trying to make it in New York or Los Angeles? It seems to me like there's so much talent in Nashville. I say this almost
it's a songwriting town. There is no doubt about it. And if you're a songwriter, you want to be here because it's going to be a lot easier to find other people. And everyone says you should co-write. And when we're back in our hometowns, we try, and it's kind of hard. It's just hard to find people, in the NSAI group, we would get together, me and another person or two other people, and we just don't know how to do this. But when you come to Nashville and you meet people, well, they usually have been here a little bit longer than you. And they really do know, like, I didn't know where the second verse went, but my co-writers did. And so you go from, if you're newer at songwriting, you can have lots of years on you and still be new to co-write, to writing songs, right? And so your trajectory of how quickly you get better goes up so fast when you're writing with other people that when you write and, you get more songs finished. And, you can all crash into a wall and not know what to do next, but then take a break and come back and let your subconscious work on it later. So you get more done. And I have to say, it's a lot of fun, and then you try to pick people who are like kind of like you. I mean, you kind of don't go from being a songwriter who just got to Nashville to in the room with a hit songwriter. Man, everybody says right up. Well, up for me when I first came to Nashville was writing with someone who knew where the second verse went, and because I didn't, and and they were pretty new, but they had skills I didn't have, and I had skills they didn't have. I was better at melodies. They were better at lyrics. They were this, I was that. And so, and then, your co-writers bring you into, if they love writing with you, they bring you to other co-writers songwriters of theirs. And this is how you kind of, navigate, meeting people, just because, I want to make sure that this is off. So this is how you navigate, and build your network. And then you all go to writers' nights and you invite them to into the room with other people, into the writing room. So this is your networking tool in Nashville. Okay, so where were we? And so for me personally, I did a lot of that and kept doing a lot of that. And my trajectory was sort of like, well, I've got somebody, I write with people who do tracks, and I write with people who, but nobody in this group pitches songs. How are we ever going to get our songs anywhere if nobody pitches songs? So I'm going to try. And one of my people from the NSAI group came down and said, "You are a natural born song plugger." I'm like, "A what?" And he says, "Somebody who gets their songs to, to the record labels and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so, and he gave me a song to start plugging. So I started doing that. And then I quickly learned, well, if you're going to be a nobody, be at least a nobody that somebody sent. The one rule of marketing, right? So I got a couple of hit songwriters that I did, song plugging for. And because I didn't know that many people, I don't want to take any money from anybody for this act of, because I don't know how this, maybe I can only, when I started, it could only get to 5 people. That doesn't feel like that's right. How much do I charge for that? So I became a publisher so I could get publishing on the back end and do this non-exclusive. If I get you a cut, then I'm going to get your publishing on the back end. Or, and that's how I worked it. And that's how I became a publisher. And then the minute you become a publisher, then people want you to sign them.
Yeah, immediately. It's like, come on, where is this? I'm sure that's got to be really tough. Yeah, it's like, well, we could get this published, but like, yeah, let's sign it and let's have this go somewhere. That would be really important.
Well, and, there's this great, amazing woman in Nashville. Her name is Lou Taylor, and she's not a writer. She's a financial business person. She manages artists, she's like financial manager. She was a TriStar, and she came to our group of the Women in Music Business group, which I belong to. And she said, the thing is, in entertainment, you can have your job any way you want it. Yeah. Any way at all. And so whatever makes you happy, do that, right? If there's pieces of that job you don't like, don't do it. There's pieces of that job you love, because, it's up to you to figure out what, we don't have a regular, like, we're not at IBM. You start at the mailroom and you work your way up, right? Where we are all basically entrepreneurs trying to figure out where we fit in this big entertainment scene, right? So I says, well, I felt comfortable. I loved song plugging, and I did that along with songwriting for a long time. And then that understanding of the world of publishers and record labels, and understanding the real struggle that great artists and songwriters have in terms of getting access to publishers. It's, you can be ready on day one, you set foot in Nashville, and it still could take you 5 to 10 years to get into the room. You need people to help you, to introduce you. And like, because there's so many people, like in the olden days, maybe 10 years ago, 10, 15 years, the olden days.
Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? So 10 years is almost a lifetime.
Right. Like, and early on in Nashville, there's no doubt about it. You could go get a meeting with BMI or ASCAP, and they would say, my gosh, you got great songs. I'm going to send you over to a publisher. And now they have, 50, thousands of people coming here every year trying to get a meeting with them. And so now it takes someone to refer you to them to go get a meeting.
So you're noticing that it's getting much bigger there, and it's almost like it's not going to maybe be on the level of LA, New York, Chicago, those bigger places, but it seems like so many are moving there because it's friendlier, obviously. So but that's
Yeah.
probably changing, I would say.
Actually, okay, this is a good one to talk about. So, on this topic, I would say in the olden days, in the 90s, I would say the 90s, the early 2000s, we were made up as mostly country. And country's
Right.
that little postage stamp, in amongst
Right.
all the other, Billboard charts and stuff. Well, it's expensive to live in LA, and it's expensive to live in New York. And a lot of bands like Paramore and Jack White and
Mhm.
all those folks started coming here to live in the 2000s and on. And there's, and our housing market has exploded because everybody's
Right.
figured out we're the it city. It's a entertainment city. And so people have moved here. Now, the country community is very accessible. You can see them. You can
Sure.
see all the publishers, right? And you can see their hit songwriters and the people they just signed and all that stuff. On the business side, it's a little harder to find the pop people, but they're here. And you just have to, keep understanding this business. And with the world of sync, right? In the world of sync, I mean, let me go back to the performers. On the performers, if you are a songwriter in country, you're probably going to be in, there's a certain group of, like winners, losers, but places you're going to play your songs. And if you're pop and indie rock, you're probably going to go on the other side of town to this area called the basement east. You can, and Young Music City, they have a thing on top of Virgin Hotel now. There's a real community of of music that has nothing to do with country. It's just that they all hang out in different places. So you have to find your places.
Oh wow, that doesn't seem like that's kind of like some musical segregationist kind of thing that
Well,
happens.
it's not on purpose.
It just happens. It's just
It's just
evolved. Yeah.
like who's going to book the writers round, right?
Sure.
Who's going to book the show? And
Right.
the people at the basement and the basement east and all of those places, they're like, hey, you know, there's the country markets. It's not that they're like, we don't want them. It's just that you
Mhm.
kind of have to dig your niche wherever you want
Right.
to do it and be
Yeah.
known for something. So that's why they kind of do it. And all the time, we're all kind of on the same message board. BMI sends out once a week. Here's all the shows for, and you can easily find the people that you want if people put their stuff on there.
Hmm.
Put a notice on there, and you just get in here and get networking. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'm gonna
But
do.
there's
Yeah.
tons of like YOLO is here.
Hmm.
I mean, just so many
Amazing.
amazing talented people. And now we have the world of sync, which has come up as a way of, sort of like it's replacing the old mechanicals. Now we got to try to get and so we are all getting more organized when it comes to finding places. If you are wanting to pitch your songs and write songs for TV and film,
Hmm.
like all these publishers that I know, they're all putting on someone who does sync for them. And then also independent artists still have a real space in that. And so even Discover Sooner, we're going to have a sync challenge where people can come in and meet a sync agent and get a brief and write to it. And then if they like your song, they're going to sign your song. And this is a program called the Sooner Sync Challenge that we're
That's
going to have
awesome.
pretty soon here.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep doing them because we know this is how, we're about helping people move their career forward, make money with their music in ways that we can, and be known to the professionals that they need that will further their career. And that's what we do in a nutshell. So anyway.
Yeah. In
Okay, good.
Nashville, it's funny because in Nashville, you do have some legacy artists who had moved there. They're later in their career. I know John Oates and Sheryl Crow and people like that. But newer people coming there, how do they define? How do they find you? How do they find Discover Sooner? And then what are the chops
Right.
what does it take for them to get them into your fold?
Okay, well, discoversooner.com is how they find us. And you could go to Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, and we're all at discoversooner.com. And whatever we are doing, we're posting it up there. And so there's a couple of different things. Like if you are a member of our community, um, uh, this is a monthly subscription. It's not trying to charge you an arm and a leg. It's trying to keep it something that any songwriter could do. And every other month, we have an event, a pitch night, where you can come in and pitch.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm the publisher. Sometimes I have other publishers come in. So you can come in and pitch your song. Doesn't matter what genre it is. We will give you feedback, and if we like it, we will take it off and pitch it. I don't know how often we're going to do this. We're trying this out. In June, we're going to have, we're going to have a, what do you call, co-write with the artist. And if you don't co-write, you've never co-written before, or you've got a lot of experience, we're going to try to match you up one evening with people who are at your speed. And we're going to ask you a few questions about you and your music. And then we're going to try to put you online. We'll on a Zoom event. Then we're going to try to help you find some co-writers that might really fit what you do. And if it doesn't work, fine, but it was part of your being a member. And I don't think there's anyone else who does that. And then we also, unless it's on a one-on-one basis, we're trying to do this more as a group. And then we also have these programs called, one's the Publisher Writer Experience, where we take a top publisher. We're going to have two groups starting here in June, one with Lauren Funk over at Endurance Music Group, who is Jimmy Allen and Matt Stell's publisher. And they co-write with other writers, and they meet 3 times. One time a month for 3 months, and they'll have a one-on-one meeting with Lauren, for 3 months in a row. And a one-on-one meeting, if you're in Gilles Godard's group, you'll meet with him once a month for 3 months. And you could blow your first meeting, and then you got 2 more meetings, right? But over the course of this top major publisher is going to know who you are, know your music. Next time you see them out, they are going to know you. You are going to know them. You can go up to them. Some of the writers have been invited over to the publishing company to write. Some of the writers have been given emails to say, keep in touch with me. So now you're familiar, and no matter where you are on this. And these are really we're about that next generation of artists and writers who haven't made it yet, who don't have a publishing deal, that's who we're trying to get. And that's who we want to get in front of publishers, because we know they're great. And, we know some people are going to find the right person for them. And, you could have the perfect music and still not be the right person for a publisher, and vice versa, right? Mm. So it's about finding your people here in this town. And that's what we do. That's what we try to do on in more of a group setting than a one-on-one.
Yeah. It really comes back to who you know. I mean, you could be the greatest talented person in the world. You could be, it's amazing, but it's about who you get in front of and who you know in the business. So I'm sure that your service is a wonderful thing to have. So you have a thing on your website that's really interesting, about 10 ways to get published. That's
well, 10 ways to meet publishers. Okay. And I would say, okay, so one of the ways you do not meet publishers is let's start with the ones, don't do this. Please don't do this. Please. Okay. Don't do this. I send them an email and say, I have thousands of songs and I have written and I need them published. This
Yeah.
is not a good approach. Please. I get these emails all the time. I love them, but and if I listen to them, I can, 100% of the time they're not ready yet. So
Yeah.
don't put yourself in that category. But if you want to meet a publisher in town, maybe, you kind of have to network a little bit here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe someone that would be comfortable to forward a song of yours and say, hey, I think this person might be really great for you to talk with. I know I got an email once from Tim, and Tim said, hey, Kirsty Manna, who wrote Blake Shelton's Austin. She said, my music really fits what your company does. And, is it okay if I send you a song? And
Sure.
I was like, sure. That's the difference between, someone who's just emailing you, hoping that someone will email back.
Yeah.
And someone who at least took enough initiative to try to find someone who knew me. Right. And then, or you can, a lot of these publishing companies have writers' nights, and they'll say, we're going to be out so-and-so. Well, introduce yourself, go over and say hi, but don't ask them if they'll have a meeting with you. This is one of my secret sauces. I have had to do a lot of networking to get to meet people, to be able to send songs to the producers and the record labels in town. And I let them know who I am first. I show up once. I say, hi, I'm Nancy. They know right away. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm not asking them for anything. They like to feel that it's an organic thing that's happening. So, but maybe the next time I see them, I'll say, man, I love who you just signed. That they're so wonderful. Are you still looking for songs for them? And if they say yes, and then that's a good time to say, hey, can I send over a song? First of all, I know who they signed. Second of all, there's Music Row magazine. You can get all the press releases every single day to your inbox in your email. And then you can get to know what's going on at their company. And by all means, don't send them a song unless it's what their company does, right? If you have a hip hop song and they don't do hip hop, don't send them a hip hop song. If they do country, send them a country song.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's crazy when there's one thing doing something on spec and just hoping you're rolling the dice and everything. But it's nice to go to somebody like you who can give suggestions on building relationships and getting these people to feel comfortable.
Yeah, really. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3, doing events like belonging to a company like Sooner or NSAI sometimes has some things. And Global Songwriters, Sharice Boltori, they have some things. And they do, it's country, Christian, sync. They do things, they have things that you can do and get your music in front of people in an environment where maybe pay a little bit of money. But, now that person knows you. And so you can use an organization like ours to be known and to just in a way introduce yourself. So that's one way. Another way is, study. Bart, when I moved to town, in fact, Bart Herbison from NSAI stood on the front porch of NSAI and said, Nancy, and this was years before I moved to Nashville. He said, Nancy, you are moving to Nashville. And I said, I am. We're like, really?
Were you in Pittsburgh? Was that where you were?
Pittsburgh, right. Right. And I was like, how do you know this about me? How do you know this? I'm telling you, you are coming here. Yeah, you're coming here to live. I know the type of person who's going to do it. And, he was right. He was right. And so.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. What is it? We know it's known for ketchup and steel. It's like, what else?
Really?
Although it's a beautiful downtown. Oh, and Andy Warhol.
Oh my gosh. If you want to do sports, honey, you just move on over there. You got the right vibe for that.
But music, a different story.
I'm not sure why I diverged to that, but ways to meet publishers. So anyway, you get to know these publishing companies and who are the writers there. because you've been checking out the writers rounds. Well, maybe maybe you meet the writers, and maybe those writers you become buddies with, and this is how it happens all the time. And you showed up, I mean, and you just be here, and you start meeting people, and you maybe become buddies, and people say, hey, let's get together and write. But maybe you end up writing with somebody who gets a publishing deal. And then a whole lot of people who get signed at publishing deals are signed because they were writing with someone who was signed. A lot.
That helps. Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is like the best way. If I could have everybody writing with signed writers, that's what I would do. But it is not easy to find them, because guess what? Once you get into that publishing company, they have their eyeballs set on people who are, a couple years ahead of them. And their job, they've got to get cuts. They've got to get hits. And so they got to spend their time with absolutely the best people they can get in the room with. And so you better be writing some good music. So I would say the best thing you can ever do, and I love being able to say this, is it doesn't matter how old you are.
Sure.
It does not matter. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. You could be 16, and I do believe you could be 40, 50, 60. If you write songs that are great, those people in the know, people who are at the place where they need great songs, will hear it, and they will know it. And your age is not going to stop them from wanting to have you write with their writers. It's your music. And I've seen this in action myself in our publisher writer experience, because, after all this time, and you kind of get like, maybe they just want 20-year-old somethings who are guys, because there's not as many women. And I have seen the opposite. I have seen people respond time and time again to the music. And I think this is what sets Nashville apart from LA and New York. They have other things that are important to them besides that. But I sincerely say this, and with all my heart believe it, and I've seen it. It's about the music. And if you have what they need, they'll be happy. If you're older and you're a great writer, they're going to put you in the room with their young artists, because they want someone who's going to help them find a new lane for that young artist's music. And then this is how that happens. So now you start writing with this artist, right? And then
relationship,
right? Well, that's great. Well, maybe they're signed to a record label deal. Well, maybe now they get a hit. Well, now that publishing company already knows you, and you've already been over there writing. And this is how, and every single time, almost every single time on the press releases, every day, every week in Nashville, you see, oh, we just signed so-and-so, and here's their hits that they had. And you go, okay, so they already had the hits. Yeah. Okay. So the bigger companies really need you to have hits. But if you're in the room writing with their young artists and are bringing something amazing to the pile, then it's going to happen. It can happen to you. And you know what? The minute that song goes on hold, you have ultimate power. You can go visit some other publishing companies and say, hey, I got a Jimmy Allen song about to come out. Some people will talk to you. Okay. But, still in all, that takes time to make that happen. That takes time to make that happen.
So how many people do you have in your roster? And are they all just songwriters? Are they performers as well?
Oh, okay. Well, the people who are in Discover Sooner they're not really signed to me. They're just a member. And, we have artists and writers and producers and people who write and produce. And so that's what we have.
Yeah, it could run the gamut. You could be like your Bernie Taupin type. I mean, you've never been on the stage, but you've written a zillion songs. I mean,
Oh
God,
my God.
the output
You
is
know what?
insane.
Well, we kind of special in people who don't have a publishing deal right now. We're trying to help them get a publishing deal. So we have some amazing hit songwriters. Like we have John Capek, who wrote "The Rhythm of My Heart is Beating Like a Drum" by Rod Stewart, right?
Oh yeah, hey,
Am I,
Rhythm of My
and
Heart.
The
Yeah.
Rhythm of My Heart by Rod Stewart.
Oh
And he
yeah.
just
How do
had a
you?
major cut by Bonnie Raitt on her album. And we were like celebrating. I need to put out something about John for doing that. So we have some hit songwriters who don't have a publishing deal right now, because we're all about the people who don't have publishing deals.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
what a gift, though. I mean, for somebody like that to just, I don't know where it comes from, how they do it. Do they hear the melodies? Because they're not really a performer, they're not really playing instruments, or they just write the lyrics like Bernie Taupin does and just sends it off to somebody like Elton and they set the melody and make it work.
There's so many talented, so talented people, honestly. Just, Bob, it just, like songs just stream through some people, and then there's most of the rest of us who have to work on it.
Oh, I
But there
know.
are some people that
Runs the
and it's
gamut.
great,
Mhm.
and it's just great, and just happy to bring a good idea into the room. And some people just take it and run with it. And that's how their talent goes.
Mm.
And I would say that when that happens, you just have to say thank you and glad you brought a good idea and great idea into the room. And sometimes you get more words on a song and more melody lines on a song than others. But I can tell you one thing: if you're here writing with people, you're going to make the best friends you ever made in your life. They're going to be songwriters, and then you're going to meet some people that I think Chris Oglesby from BMG told me that in every songwriter's life there should be like three people, your best friends, because you start writing and you become really great friends. Okay, that's great, that's
Yeah.
comfortable. And then there are some people that when you're in the room with him, you need to jump up and you need to get ready and you need to have three killer ideas because you want invited back. Okay. That's the second kind. And he says, but if you're there all the time, you'll burn out. You can't do that all the time.
Sure.
And then there's the third kind of person, and they're called, who the hell is this? Right. And they're the people like, you never know where this, where, life just put this person in your path and you start writing with them and it becomes something more than just one time.
That's
How
really
about that?
amazing. Yeah, absolutely. So the website, if we want to find you anywhere again.
Yeah. Discoversooner.com. There you go. You'll be fine. You'll find us.
It really is. It's a really great content rich site and so many pieces of great information. It really is. It's really well done.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and hope to hear about more great successes coming out of Nashville, out of your camp. That sounds fantastic.
Oh, have a beautiful day. We'll see you next time around.
Take care. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.